Tim here again. Haven't recorded for about a week now, maybe a little bit more than that. I just wanted to circle back to a topic that I've spoken about very briefly already, which is the protests in Canada, the Freedom Convoy, the truckers and all that sort of stuff, which again has been in the news, not very much, but on more independent sources a lot. I really wanted to talk about just how shocked I am, really, at just the overreach of the Trudeau-led government. It seems to me that their action or their first action is also the action of last resort, which is the enactment of these emergency powers, or the Emergency Powers Act, which really, if we talk about it, and we want to be honest about what it is the War Powers Act, which you'd enact in the event of a catastrophic, cataclysmic war, or some kind of equally large threat. I'm not sure, or uncertain, in fact, that the Canadian truckers and their supporters, they don't represent a catastrophic or cataclysmic threat to the Canadian constitution or economy. It's a protest, a long protest, which has been labelled an occupation, and it really doesn't fit the bill as far as I can tell, and as far as a lot of other people can tell. And the worst thing about it is that everybody can see it. Everybody knows that Trudeau has vastly overreached himself. I think Justin Trudeau knows he's vastly overreached himself, but he doesn't care, as far as I can tell. If you look at his rhetoric from early in the fringe minority protest, it's been very worrying. His resort in rhetoric was his last resort immediately to call them racists and all that sort of stuff, which didn't make any sense then, doesn't make any sense now, and never has. And everybody knew it. Even Trudeau probably knew it. The reason he did that, of course, is because he thinks those are the words that will cede to him the power that he wants. And it doesn't work like that anymore. And I don't think it ever really has. Although there are some people who may be swayed on that basis and keep faith with Trudeau and his rhetoric, it just doesn't fit the bill for everyone else. And it's reprehensible, really. So he needs to be really careful with his rhetoric. And it's a very worrying level of rhetoric. I heard that he'd described the people, anti-vaxxers or people not taking the vaccine in such a way as to imply that the rest of society is tolerant, or how does the rest of society tolerate them? Do they tolerate them? Which is just weird and very worrying, that he should think that rhetoric like that from a world leader, effectively, is anything other than ridiculous, and actually needs to be called out, and hasn't been called out at the levels that it should have been called out. There's people like me on the internet, but all I can do is say it's reprehensible, and he needs to be called out on it. And I urge people higher up the democratic chain, such as it is, to do exactly that. You need to call out Trudeau on my behalf and on behalf of good common sense. He needs to be called out. And the people of Canada need to keep the faith, not with Trudeau, but with the Charter of Rights, and with the fact that they stand on the side of the Charter of Rights, and that the Charter of Rights is a good thing. And now I hear stories in fact, I saw an interview where one of Trudeau's deputies was talking about making some of those emergency powers a permanent state of affairs, which is... words fail me for how arrogant that is. As far as I can tell, this act has been abused, and that Trudeau and his cronies have been using the laws of Canada to force their political will on the people of Canada. This is scary for some of the people in Canada, a lot of people in Canada, people who've had their livelihoods, their money taken away, frozen. I can sort of imagine, because I know how important these things are. I can't really imagine the kind of fear and the sense of helplessness that must engender to people who supported another group of people who were fighting for the basic charter freedoms, not even fighting, protesting. See how rhetoric works? Protesting against the rules which were in place, which were infringing on those charter freedoms. And we need to think about that quite carefully. Just imagine what that would be like. I'm filming in the car. You can probably hear somebody else starting the car up. The reason I'm filming in the car is because I'm between jobs, and I haven't recorded for a while. And this has been going over and over in my mind for quite a while. And I've been keeping an eye on things on the internet. I've watched a couple of bits that Russell Brand, a YouTuber and British comedian, has put out about this, discussing the relative strengths and weaknesses of the Trudeau's actions, which, his show of force is a show of weakness. I don't like the pictures I've been seeing of the police authorities in Canada, in Ottawa in particular, of lots of police in uniforms with their faces covered with sunglasses on, pushing and occasionally more the people of Canada in their woolly hats and their scarves and their gloves, singing "O Canada," and asking for support and protection from the people who are pushing them. It's not on. Again, Trudeau has used the police and the authoritative forces in Canada to enforce his political will, not for the protection of the people, for his political will. This is, again, I want to be careful with my rhetoric. It's veering towards dictatorship. And certainly shows a dictatorial persuasion. I don't know what the future holds. The people of Canada need people in a position of influence, politicians, leaders in the police and armed forces, to speak up on behalf of the Charter rights and to corner Trudeau and force him to he's not going to admit what he's done wrong. He just won't. He thinks he's right and therefore he has the right to do anything. But at least to force him to give them the opportunity to bring this to an end. And I don't necessarily mean violence, I mean elections, civil disobedience, that kind of thing. And for goodness sake, if you're going to do any of those things, speak out against this, speak against Trudeau, and you're in Canada, get your money out of the banks. Get your money out of the banks in Canada if you're going to speak out against this. Because it can just be taken off you. What? Who thought that I'd be saying that sentence? Who thought that anyone would be saying that sentence? Isn't that ridiculous? I've always had suspicions about Trudeau. Or actually, no, not suspicions. I've never really liked him. I think I saw something when he was first elected, that he was going to make his cabinet 50-50 men and women. As we all know, dividing things in that way is pretty arbitrary. And what we should be much more concerned with is a government and government positions filled with people who are competent regardless of their gender. And the fact that he puts this arbitrary differentiation, arbitrary in terms of competence for government, above capability, or certainly appears to, is worrying because it's stupid, and speaks to perhaps his own competence. It's got to come to an end. At the moment, it's just going in one direction, and it can't continue. It can't be allowed to continue. And we're at a stage now where my representatives, the MPs who act on our behalf in Britain, need to speak up. The people who lead us need to speak up. And the people in Canada who lead the people in Canada, who actually represent the people of Canada and not the views of Justin Trudeau, need to speak up. They need to say something. Now. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Good luck, everyone, and all the best.